here, so I thought I'd tell you a little story of something that happened when I was growing up as a little kid. That was something you don't normally come across as a kid. And this is about a neighbor of ours, and I know for a fact his name is Ross, because we would never forget him. Now, I don't remember what his last name was, but I just remember that his name was Ross. And there's two reasons we actually remember him, and they both sort of like tie together. So let's start with the first one. Now, you know, I was probably going to say I was like maybe 13, 14, 15 years old at the time. And the guy lived right across the street from me. And I used to actually babysit their kid. I can't remember if it was a little boy or a little girl. It just that I was considered to be a reliable kid and earned a little money babysitting when they had, him and his wife had date night. And, you know, never had any idea anything was going on. Well, lo and behold, about a year or so later, let this person go. I come home for lunch from high school, and there's a strange lady in our dining room, and no one else is here, and she's sitting in the dining room table with a pair of binoculars and a big thick notepad. So I just, like, you know, can I help you, whatnot? And she said, oh no, your mother knows I'm here. She said, oh, I'm a private investigator, and I'm just watching the house across the street. And I went, oh, okay. Is there you know, something going on or whatever? And she didn't really want to talk about it, but she was doing stuff and whatnot, and I made my lunch, talked to her for a bit, and eventually she happened to mention that the wife there was suspected that her husband was cheating on her. And I went like, wow, I've never heard of cheating husbands before, because like this is the early 1970s, and everyone is sort of we're all living sheltered lives back then. And the other thing that's unusual is the fact, when you think about it, is that the woman who was the private investigator was actually a woman. Back then, the vast majority of women, you know, were married and taking care of the kids. That was just the normal, like, you know, the women out there getting a job, like, you know, Mary Tyler Moore and whatnot. That was kind of unusual. But it was the 70s, things were changing. So I never actually hung around to see what was going on, because I actually had to get back to school and get my education. And I talked to my mother that night, and she said, oh yeah, she thinks she's cheating with this person down the street. Now, I didn't know who that person was, but I talked to one of my friends, and they said, oh, that person is a woman that lives down the street who's divorced from her husband. And sure enough, he actually was. So they ended up with, they didn't get divorced, much to my surprise, but they had to do financial family counseling and all that sort of stuff, and you know, it was you know, the talk of the neighborhood sort of thing. Well, fast forward another couple years later, my best friend, who lived like across the street as well in the opposite corner, was planning on becoming a police officer. So he was into the law enforcement stuff, and you know, of course, his father was a sergeant. But they got talking, and his dad, my buddy's dad, who's a sergeant, was really good at telling stories. Like, I wish I had written down some of them, because the stories he was telling me as I was growing up were just like, they were classics. They would have made an awesome book. But he was saying, guess who got arrested yesterday? And we're like, huh? He goes, Ross. And we go like, what, across the street? I'm like, Ross? And he said, oh yeah. And we're going, what did he get arrested for? Bank robbery. And we're going, he robbed a bank? Yeah, apparently him and a friend, they went into the bank with a gun and held it up. And we're like, you're kidding me, right? Yeah. And it's like, no. And the interesting thing about it was, like, my buddy's dad used to call people that weren't too smart rocket scientists. And he said, well, the rocket scientist decided to use his own car as the getaway car. Now, his own car was a Corvette limited edition replica Pace Indianapolis 500 Pace car. I can't remember what year it was, but I'll put a picture of one up here. So it's not the typical normal, this is what, you know, a getaway car looks like. But apparently they robbed the bank, and then they used the car as a getaway car, and instead of like getting out of town or going to their hideout, they went to a local bar to celebrate. And when the police actually walked in, the bag of money from the bank was on the table with the drinks, with the beers around them. So this guy robbed the bank and just used a well identifiable car, and surprisingly he really didn't have a lot of prison time. So it just makes you sort of like just wonder what he was thinking. But I know after that he ended up getting divorced. But it was just one of those things that's like, wow, you just can't make this stuff up. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. DeathsStalker signing off.